I don't know. I mean, they kicked their ass. So, yeah, it got away from us.
Coach, this team is well known by its ability to come back from 3-1 hole several times. So how optimistic are you to come back from this 2-0 hole?
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge. The body language of our guys, is not where I think it needs to be. But we just got beat up in our building. We got embarrassed in front of our fans. The good thing is we don't play till Friday. We have a chance to kind of get away and think about what we want to do moving forward. And
Audio Jungle.
And a happy Tuesday, May 7th to you live here on the King's Court. Ryan in Sacktown coming to you. It is a Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. Yes, indeed. Jerry's going to be joining us at 2:30 today. Can't wait for that. If you have some questions for Jerry, you can get those in the chat. I'll try to track those as best as I can. We're going to have about 20 minutes with him. That'll be a lot of fun, but we've got plenty to talk about. That was Michael Malone on the bump in. Matthew, hope that was a little bit better on your ears. But what's going on in Denver? And I don't think it's a what's going on in Denver thing. It's a what is going on in Minnesota? When did the T-Wolves become the favorites to win the NBA championship right now? They're scoring the most points per game out of every team in the playoffs, and their defense, unreal. They turned over, check this out, the Joker 11 times. 11 times in 2 games. Last night, you had Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., and the Joker, all with 4 turnovers. Anthony Edwards, is he the real deal? What's up, Bobby? How you doing, my man? Happy to have you here today on the King's Court. That's right. You guys can get your chats in. Love to have those. You can call as well. The QR code above my left shoulder. Take a picture of that. Also, you can call in the chat. The link is in there. You don't have to be on camera. You can certainly just come up. You're right, Ryan. What's up, Adam? It's not Denver being bad. The Timberwolves just look that good. It's ridiculous. I thought the Timberwolves, even this entire season, as we were ranking them as the year went along, I didn't think that they were for real. I didn't. Anthony Edwards is for real. Anthony Edwards is the real deal, and this kid does not have any idea how good he is. That is what's nuts about it. Also, we can talk about the Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley situation in Miami. I've got some audio from Pat Riley. And is Jimmy Butler going to be on his way out in Miami? We can hit that as well. Dan Hurley shows up on WWE Raw last night. That was pretty funny as well. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. The champs are not going to get swept. I don't think that's going to happen. Game 3 is going to be the game, though. I don't think anybody had Minnesota going into Denver and winning both games, and not just winning both games, literally shutting down the Nuggets. The Nuggets scored 80 points last night. 80 points. At one point, they only had 55, and there was 3 minutes left, or just under 3 minutes left in the third quarter. They got a 2, which was kind of cherry pick, which brought them to 60. But I don't know. I mean, they're out physically, and they're doing the things the Nuggets do best. And in fact, the way that the Timberwolves are playing and controlling the game, they're playing beyond their years. It's nuts. It absolutely is. I remember some people talking about this early in the season with Oklahoma City. Is OKC too good for their own good? Do they not know how good they are? Is that a benefit? Well, this Timberwolves team, they're for real right now. And as I see it, they're going to be coming out of the West. I don't see it any other way. And then we haven't even touched on the Knicks and the Pacers. We thought that would be the defensive game, right? Nope. The Knicks put up 121 last night in the Garden to get the dub. And did anybody tell the Pacers that that was a playoff game and not the dunk contest? Holy crap, between Toppin and the other dunk, unreal. And here's the other thing about that. The Knicks, I asked the question yesterday, which team was going to impose their will? Was it going to be the Knicks with the physicality, or was it going to be Indiana? Was it going to be the Pacers with the way they like to run? And the Knicks did it both ways, and so did the Pacers. That's what was impressive. I didn't think, even though New York ran an 8-man rotation last night, that they could hang. And yes, the bench points, Patrick, I know are a problem in New York, but it's working out for Tibbs, and that team is humming as well. I thought there was a very interesting, or a couple of interesting conversations that occurred last night. Is it like that to you? Yeah, for sure. What's up? I'm not flashing gang signs. Isn't that like the hang 10 or whatever? I don't know. Adam, you know this one. Too sweet. Yeah. Anyways, the Knicks. It's a fun thing to watch. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. So we can talk about that series. You got some other series kicking off tonight, and like I said, you got a Jerry Reynolds Tuesday. He will be here at 2:30. So a lot going on the King's Court. Getting back to the conversations that were going on last night on If You Don't Like That, Grant had an open forum show. In fact, we're going to do an open forum show again tonight immediately. It's called the Shaka, brah. The Shaka. Interesting. Well, I only know one bra, and it's this
Come
one.
on.
Yeah. My buddy
Come
Silk.
on.
That's Silk. I know him. Silk bra. But all right. I'll take it. I guess that's what the young kids are doing these days. But yesterday on If You Don't Like That, we are doing a show immediately after the OKC game tonight. OKC, yeah, come on down. We're going to have a fun show. It'll probably be right around 9 o'clock, so it'll be a little bit later if you want to wrap the night up with us. But one of the conversations that came up last night was you guys were kind of putting point guards and stars into tiers, and then you were doing that and relating it to De'Aaron Fox. Which tier would Foxy be in? So I want to kind of chime in on that conversation. I didn't get a chance to do that last night. And then the other conversation was the Malik Monk one. And Grant said, and it surprised me a little bit, because usually he's pretty right on with these things, that he thinks Malik has a better chance of leaving than staying. I don't know if I agree with that completely, but certainly Grant's sources, they are much more tenured than mine. So I will pay that some respect, but that begs a secondary question for me then. If the Kings knew that Malik Monk probably was going to be gone at the end of the season, you guys have asked for reporting, you've asked for information about what happened. You guys should do, what's up, Nye? I'll take this right now. You guys should do a live watch the game and talk about it and just have the score up. That would be awesome. Maybe we'll do that. So we were doing that for the Pro Sports Fans app, except the game was not up. We did it to kick off the season, and we decided not to carry through or continue doing that just for this one reason. The app is great. The concept is great, but the tech was just a little bit, it wasn't there yet. And I know they're working on it and improving that. So you might find us on that platform again sometime next season, but I will pitch that to Napes. I know that there's a couple programs out there where you can watch games. You can do it without copyright violation, or at least have the game streaming there, and you can be on camera talking about it as well. So I'll throw that off, Grant. Anything you guys ask, as long as it's reasonable, we will take into consideration. But getting back to the Malik Monk situation, if the Kings knew the answers to many of those questions that we have yet to get the answers to, I hope you're having a great day too. I'm having an awesome day. Tell him, Tedora.
Holy moly,
Yes,
Zimbabwe!
indeed. I hope everybody else is having a great day. I start my days really early. How about all of you? I'm usually up. Today was a late start. I was up at 5. I'm usually up at 3:30. Yeah, I know. It's a grind, but I love it. I'm addicted to it. Getting back to Monk. If the Kings had the answers that none of us do about maybe some internal issues throughout the season, maybe some pull and tug about Malik starting. I mean, think about it. The Kings had a lot of guys go down at that two guard position this year, and Monk never once stepped into that starting lineup. Wow, we are up to 119. I love it. Thank you so much for being here on the Kings Court with Ryan and Sacktown 130 now. Jerry Reynolds, 2:30, coming up here on the Kings Court, joining us live for about 20 minutes. That's going to be fun. But we're talking about Malik Monk and the conversation last night on If You Don't Like That. So if the Kings had a beat on that and they knew Malik really was going to explore free agency, and I mean explore free agency, why didn't the Kings think about trading him? Let that set in for a second. Did the Kings at any point think about trading Malik Monk at the trade deadline? There certainly would have been a market for it, and I don't want to play armchair quarterback what ifs, what would have been, where would the Kings be now? But there is a lot of Team James chiming in. He's saying Malik is leaving. Yep, it's it's a coin flip. We're either right or we're wrong on that. But did the Kings explore the possibility of trading him? Because think about it, at the trade deadline, the season was kind of, we knew what the Kings were, right? We knew what the Kings were. And even we saw the Kings, because Malik went down, we saw them without Malik for the rest of the season. So if this group knew that the talent had been maxed out, this team ceiling had been hit, it had to have been on the table. I gotta think it was on the table. It would have been. It's what's one of the things Monty gets knocked for. It's letting Bogey walk. That was a big thing. Well, now looking at this Western Conference and how it's absolutely recalibrated with some of these stars, Anthony Edwards, Victor Wembanyama, unanimous rookie of the year. The Spurs are going to be coming. What could the Kings have done to not let Malik just walk? So I know I'm playing devil's advocate here. I know I'm playing Monday morning quarterback, and I know most of you, and probably including myself, would have gone nuts at the Kings trading Monk for obvious reasons. I just told you yesterday, it hurts watching this year in the playoffs, and it hurts for this reason. It's like the Kings, even without inconsistent they were this season, their style was beginning to translate to what you see in the postseason. Scores are lower. 114 is the highest a team is scoring in the playoffs per game, and that's the Minnesota Timberwolves. So the Kings now are desperately, to a degree, behind the 8 ball. How do they improve? How do they keep pace? We talked yesterday. We listened to Bobby Marks in his offseason guide to the Kings, and he's all about drafting, player development, and really whoever that 13 pick is, assuming the Kings do get the 13th pick, going all in on a player like that, making sure that you're drafting a player that can immediately step in. Let's get some of your comments in here. You can tell when he had a end of the I'm not going to judge that one. I mean, it is bittersweet. Think about that. If you don't know if you're going to be back in Sacramento, I think more to me, it wasn't melancholy from Malik Monk. It was just more, he had the big eyes, right? Free agency. Holy moly, I'm about to get paid. I think that was the reality setting in. Adam hopping back in. Grant brought up some good points. No taxes in Florida. Yeah, it is true, but then there's the other side of that as well. I feel like Monk loves being playing in Sacramento. Yeah, he does. He does. He said that he loves the city. He's done a lot in his time here in Sacramento off the court for the city, and he loves golf. I know Grant talks about that all the time, but Malik, don't think for a second golf year round is not going to be part of the formula for Malik making a decision. James Hurd, King should entertain DeRozan. I don't think so. James hopping back in with a second. Remember, it's business. He wants to collect a good check. Yeah, no, he deserves to get paid. And I actually think his market value. So, NBA guru Zach and I went back and forth on this many times. I thought Malik's value was going to be higher than what it's projected to be at. But I do also think, and Jerry is with me on this, that Malik and Klay Thompson's free agency is somewhat tied together because the Magic are only going to go after one of those guys. And there's reports that the Magic like both of them. So what's the number for Klay Thompson? Now, if you're assuming, and here's the assumption, that Malik Monk is going to be your sixth man. Well, there's a lot of talk of Klay Thompson taking that role somewhere else. And I know that their careers are on different trajectories right now. Malik's this way, Klay's going that way. But if the number for Klay is, and I don't think it will be above the MLE, then and the MLE is set to be at about 12.9. I'm rounding up there. And then I think Malik at 17 is just about right. We're going to get back to your comments here in a second. As I said, you can call the show. We bring in Oran Dog. What's up, dude?
What's up? I actually got the thing started with Grant about the tiers of guards because I mentioned how I think the MVP race within the next year or so is going to be between Shea and Anthony Edwards. And then he threw in Luka to the conversation and then Brunson into that tier. And then he had Mitchell just slightly below and then Fox just slightly below Mitchell.
Yeah, I think, and this is what I was going to chime into that. If this holds up with Anthony Edwards, and even if it doesn't, even what he's done up until like all this season and then through the playoffs to now, I think it's Anthony Edwards. Then it's your Luka, SGA, Brunson. Then it drops down to probably Donovan Mitchell, and then it drops to De'Aaron.
Yeah, honestly, I'm frightened of Anthony Edwards.
He's
right
a freak.
now.
He's a freak.
Yeah. Well, first of all, last year we all thought, oh, look, see how the Gobert trade failed. Well, now this year that turned full 180. The story is now this is a brilliant move.
Yeah.
They have great interior defense, and that just allows Anthony Edwards to get buckets.
Yeah, and the other thing about that too is they re-signed when they had the Twin Towers. They re-signed Naz Reid, Condog. Yeah. It's like the rich got richer, and so when Cat went out, usually those were the times you could count on Cat going down for at least a month during the season. The Timberwolves traditionally would struggle, right? No, Naz Reid steps in, and at times I thought they were better with Naz Reid starting.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Suns beat them in the season series and they swept them, and we beat them in the season. Hell, we played two of our best games all season in Minnesota.
That's right.
And honestly, with the way Minnesota's playing right now and the way we played at the end of the season, I think it would have been a sweep as well.
Oh, yeah. Minnesota would roll the Kings right now. They're finding a solution for Jokic, something that has not been found in the last 3 or 4 seasons. So
yeah, I mean,
all credit to them. But yeah, incredible stuff. Anthony Edwards, he's a throwback too. It's like he came from a time machine from the 90s.
Jalen Brunson too, man.
Yeah, you know what? I left Brunson's name out. Brunson is in that same. Yeah. Actually, see, now that's where I get a little bit conflicted. I don't know if I'm ready to put Brunson with SGA.
No, I'm not ready to put him at the top tier, but he's knocking on that door.
Oh, yeah.
He's just waiting for you to find his key under the mat or something.
Yeah, and he's doing it in New York. One of the biggest media markets there is.
Reminds me a lot of like the Derrick Rose Bulls teams. They had Taj Gibson and Joakim Noah. Big defensive bigs, two-way guys like Luol Deng, and then explosive guard like a Brunson or Rose.
Yeah, no doubt. And here's the other thing too: defense is proving out in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
defense is winning.
Everyone says it's a small ball league. You can't have two bigs, and right now the best two teams are the Timberwolves and the Knicks.
Pretty incredible stuff. Hey, I got to get out, but anything else you want to hit on really quick? Because I got Jerry coming up in about 10 minutes.
I cannot wait for this Thunder Mavs series. I cannot wait to see, Shea and the boys versus Luka and the boys. It's going to be a fun one.
I'm with you. I think it's going to be a fun series. I think OKC comes out on top. I wasn't sold on the Mavs coming out of the Clippers series, because if the Mavs would have done what the Timberwolves did in the first two games against the Nuggets to the Clippers for the series, I'd be feeling different. But the Clippers, James Harden, only 7 points in a pivotal game. No, I still think OKC is just a class above them.
Yeah, and then one more thing on the Malik, just players leaving teams in general. I heard this one time, but nobody's gonna love you like your first team. And the only player I can actually think of where that wasn't the case, well, actually two, would be Kareem and Shaq. But other than that, Boston loved Paul Pierce more, obviously. The Bulls loved Jordan more, obviously. The Patriots loved Brady more, obviously. The list goes on. With Niners love Joe Montana more than the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, you're right. You are right. Hey, Condog, since it's Tuesday and I'm feeling kind of funny, I think I'm gonna run you. Thanks for calling. Peace.
Hey.
I had to run him.
No, you don't like that call. I don't like that call. Not a very good call.
Except I did like your call. I just had to run you. I don't know why. I felt like it. We got 220 live here on the Kings Court. Love it. Let's get back to the comments. As I said, Jerry Reynolds coming up here at 2:30. He'll be with us in just about 7 minutes. James hopping back in. James is busy this morning or today. It's a guard league. If you have a superstar guard and an all-star big man, you can win it all. Kind of. Sometimes those two don't mix. What about Sabonis? And what about Fox? They're not winning it all right now. Kyle Sweat, everybody sleeping on the Celtics. I don't think people are sleeping on the Celtics. It's just, if you're going to put your eggs in the basket of defense, athleticism, and game management, like the Timberwolves have been playing, versus the Celtics with the bipolar 3-ball, and sometimes we want to play defense and sometimes we don't. Don't get me wrong. The Celtics on paper are the best team in the playoffs right now. They are. But the Minnesota Timberwolves are, to me, a class above right now. And that can change week to week in the playoffs. We know that. Yeah, they do. They absolutely do. No, he is not. No. That was kind of the conversation we were just talking about. I'm not going to waste it. And I don't mean waste Jerry's time. I don't want to do 20 minutes with Jerry about rankings on guards, but I would be very interested to see where he comes out on that. I think Fox is a step below any of the names that we've talked about already today at that point guard position. Kyle, you've been in here. Clay could get whatever the veteran maximum is. Yeah, we'll see, or should get. I honestly think Monk should be a starter, but he's a great sixth man. Yeah. And that tells you about his character, right? And one of the underreported things about this guy, and I know some people have talked about it, is when things get heavy in that Kings locker room, when the mood is somber, Malik Monk doesn't care. he lightens everything up. He keeps the locker room light. He keeps them laughing. You guys know what Jimmy V said, right? His famous SB speech. 3 things you should do every day: laugh, cry. It was laugh, cry, and think, right? Be moved to tears, laugh, and think. And Malik Monk definitely brought, you could be moved to tears laughing by him. Let's see. Remember, it's a business. He wants to collect a good check. We hit that already. All right. Love it. Is Dame Time considered a superstar guard? He used to be considered a superstar guard. I mean, I'm not going to knock him for being on the downside of his career, but yeah, he's not a superstar anymore as we think about it. I mean, LeBron James, yes, he is. And by the way, are you guys seeing that we're starting to catch some steam with this LeBron James player coach thing that I talked about yesterday? Just turn the franchise over to LeBron for 2 years. That's what he has left. In fact, my good buddy Romy did an entire segment on it today about, look, you should do it. It's the obvious choice. Jeannie Buss has already given you the keys to the franchise. It's just whether or not LeBron wants to be the fall guy when things go bad, because usually that's when a coach gets fired. Did you guys see the graphic yesterday? LeBron has had 9 coaches in 3 different stops during his time in the NBA. That's insane. That is absolutely nuts. Jerry Reynolds getting ready to join us here in just about 3 minutes. Thank you to the 238 joining us live on the King's Court. I am Rhino, and we are here Monday through Friday, 2 o'clock. We want to be your place for Sacramento sports before your drive home. We have surprise guests all the time, too. Tuesdays are starting to shape up as Jerry Reynolds Tuesdays, though, and I really enjoy those. I know you do. So get your questions into the chat if you have any for Jerry. Also, if you are not subscribed, we're here on If You Don't Like That. That's Grant's channel. It's where you get exclusive rants. It's also where you can find all of our programming. The entire library is right there, and there's a ton of Jerry Reynolds in that as well. So give Grant a follow there. You can be notified when we go live. And speaking of the man himself, he is here as promised. Jerry Reynolds joins us on the King's Court. How are you doing, buddy?
Pretty good, pretty good. Beautiful day here in Roseville, and got my walk in, and of course I've got a couple of honeydews here that I'm behind. I'm gonna have to step it up here a little bit, I'm afraid.
I hope Mrs. Reynolds doesn't get mad at me for dragging you away for 20 minutes from the honeydew list.
Well, if she does, you'll know it. She'll track you down. So
this is true.
I'll try to help you avoid that. So
I appreciate it. So what's the off season look like for you, Jerry? You got anything planned? Anything fun coming up?
No, other than my wife and I've got, we spent a lot of time up in Tahoe, and so they've really had a lot of work done on the area where we live, and so we haven't been able to get up there much. And so we'll be doing that here as it warms up, and that's pretty much it. Just kind of spend time back and forth and with our kids a little bit and things like that. So we both of us are about the same. We don't really want to travel. 2-hour car drive is about all we need to do. If I never get on a commercial flight again, I'll be okay, which is actually my plan, to never get on.
Really? It does not surprise me. You hear about the WNBA? They're now going to get chartered. They're changing it.
Oh,
yeah.
Caitlin Clark influence, huh? So.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, they're catching some steam. They have some stars now. But speaking of stars, the last time we were here, last Tuesday, we talked about Anthony Edwards and we talked about Minnesota. Jerry, this team's gotten better since then. What are you seeing from them?
Well, I'm seeing probably maybe the Western Conference champs, and a serious contender. that game, the slap down they put on Denver last night, I just wasn't ready for. Just
Yeah.
the defense they played. Truthfully, defensively, without Gobert, they're almost better because they're so much more active and versatile. They can switch and all that. Whereas Gobert certainly protects the rim better than anybody, but he's a 5 foot around the area defender, and that's pretty much it. But with Naz Reid and Karl Anthony Towns, the bigs that can really get out and cover wings. Even I mean, Towns isn't that good at it, but he's a lot more mobile than Gobert.
Yeah, it's a great point. And points in the paint last night, 52-34 in favor of Minnesota without Gobert. They've forced 11 turnovers in the last 2 games by Jokic. What are you seeing game plan wise that they've figured out with him and making him look normal, should I say?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, they really are bothering him. Now the length they have can bother him better than a lot of teams, but they're quick to double. And especially I think once he puts the ball down, you see the second defender coming on him really quick. They're changing it up. Sometimes they'll double hard on the catch. Sometimes it's on the dribble, and I don't know what Coach Finch exactly what he's doing to key that. But I mean, for Jokic, he just got to make quicker decisions. He's never. I mean, it's a defense that's really bothered him, and if Jokic is bothered, then Denver isn't very good.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing. You make it uncomfortable for him, and which they are, and he's not a really an effective scorer, passer. As he generally is. So they're doing a job on him I haven't seen in years.
Yeah, it's a great point. It to me, it almost reminds me, or at least the first 2 games of when the Warriors came out on Sabonis and just confused him in the playoff series. Because in a way, they play the same roles, even though Jokic much better at that. But you hit on something. I'm going to transfer just to one quick Kings question about quicker decision making. Is that on Domas's offseason checklist of improvements?
I think it is, and I think basically quicker decisions. Because he will get doubled because everybody knows he's kind of the key to the offense. So make quicker decisions with the pass, but also quicker decisions maybe for the shot. Excuse me. A lot of the doubles really on him happen once he puts the ball on the floor. A lot of times he can turn and be open for the little 15-footers.
Yeah.
And just go ahead and take it. I mean, I really think the idea of the spray threes is probably overdone. A 60%, 70% two-pointer is pretty good, and then that'll even open up the threes even better.
You're spot on. The Kings, for most of the season, had really good numbers shooting the 2, but they were towards the bottom of the league in attempts. So certainly we know Domas needs to add that to his game. The other Eastern Conference series going on, the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers, your hometown team. Any surprises from game 1?
Well, really the fact that Tyrese Halliburton was just really not very good.
Yeah.
I mean, which is probably overrating it. I mean, I know hasn't had a good second half of the season, and he was, for him, a disappointing series against Milwaukee. So, that's for them to win, he's got to play better. I mean, I think overall they've got more talent maybe than the Knicks, and their bench is so much deeper.
Yes.
And they've really got some awfully good players coming off the bench. So I think, for the Pacers, if Halliburton can get back close to how he played in the first half of the season, I think they win the series. But, in the Knicks, I mean, they got a starting 5. It's, they're used to playing 40-some minutes a game, and they'll have to continue to do it.
Yeah, you hit it on the head about the benches, and this was even in the series before, but last night the bench gets outscored 46-3.
Yeah.
That's a big difference, Jerry. A huge difference.
Huge difference. Yeah, I mean, really, like I say, I mean, I always felt Indiana had one of the best benches in the league, and I mean, that's how they could, they really had got Matherin, a really key player, hurt, a top
Yeah.
a year ago. And, they got guys to step in there, Nemhard and Naismith, and of course, TJ McConnell, the absolute pain in the ass in the whole league, who just is playing terrific, by the way. He has awesome second half of the year, but so their depth is good, and I mean, they've got, in my mind, a real excellent prospect in Jalen Smith that doesn't even get to play much because, once they got Siakam and they had Toppin, they had two guys, that are really pretty talented guys ahead of him.
Oh yeah, and that's a sign of a good team when you get to wait on some of your talent. Yeah,
and a really good coach, and so
great point.
I see it as a 7-game series, and I kind of think that the Pacers are more talented, but they have no answer for Jalen Brunson that I've seen. Of course, nobody else does either.
Yeah, what is it about Jalen Brunson? I mean, it reminds me of the Mike Bibby days in a way, because Mike was so crafty with the little moves you didn't see, the hand movements, a little bit of pull and a little tugging, body positioning. How big of a part of game is that for Jalen Brunson?
Well, that is a good analogy, because I always thought with Mike, one of the key things was his cleverness. It wasn't his athleticism.
Yeah.
Or he's a big time shooter, but he could get to his spots on the floor, with his really cleverness and trickiness. And Brunson's taken that to a new level, along with some real strength, physical power. He goes through bigger guys.
He does.
And and I think just basically the green light that he has really does help him, because everybody knows he's going to try to score, and but his he's a serious MVP candidate in my mind.
Yes.
I mean, of course, now that the season's over, I mean, he probably wouldn't get it, but I would put him probably ahead of Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, really. And I mean, that's a close call. And of course, off the topic here, but it's such an amazing thing we're seeing. We're seeing a total turnaround in the league of the stars. I mean, when LeBron and Steph Curry and Durant aren't in the playoffs, there's a changing of the guards, in the sense that, with Brunson and Doncic and Gilgeous-Alexander and Edwards. I mean, to me, that's your 4 young dominant players, and that's not even counting Ja Morant, who may get back into that fray, and then that's forgetting a guy like Trae Young, who a couple of years ago everybody thought was, and of course then again De'Aaron Fox there as well. I mean, it's just it's kind of an interesting thing to where the guard, of course, the game features and really does lend itself to guard play and wing play more than big people play. But yeah, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it does seem like that, that LeBron and Durant and Curry, they're still really good. They're terrific. They're all stars. But I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think any of them can actually lead a team as a serious contender for a championship. And that, it's been a long time since you could have said that.
Jerry, it's an amazing point, and you're absolutely right. In fact, it's taken me a second to process that, because you are seeing a changing of the guard. And I guess with a changing of the guard, does that come maybe with a changing of the style of play, Jerry?
Well, I think it does. I think it just, certainly Curry was one of, kind of was maybe more than any one player kind of was responsible for changing style of play, making guards more valuable. So, I mean, he's of course first ballot Hall of Famer and top 10 maybe player of all time for a lot of reasons, but that would be one of them. But having said that, then there's guys that are better than he is right now. Now, they're not better pure shooters. I would never say that, but I mean, who would you rather guard, Curry or Anthony Edwards right now?
Curry. Please.
Absolutely. Yeah. Not only will Edwards score on you, might hurt you. You know, and I mean, and the same would apply to Brunson and Doncic and Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, I'd put them all in that category. It's nothing against Curry. He's older and he slipped a little bit. That's normal. That's God's plan.
Yeah.
But when you really get down to it, it's like, yeah, how do you guard Anthony Edwards? I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this, Jerry. How does De'Aaron Fox fit into that picture with these guys? A lot of them in the backcourt, and physicality isn't De'Aaron's game. Is there room there for him to have advantage on some of these guys because of the speed and what he does getting to the hoop?
Oh, I think he's just a notch below him right now, and I wouldn't say he couldn't get up into that category. They're not just way ahead of him, but I think in clearness, I think most people around the league would agree that there is a difference right now in those four because they've kind of led their teams in the history, and they've done more over a period of last couple of years.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, De'Aaron's young enough that you know he could, probably he could still be the best of the bunch. I don't, after watching Edwards, I don't think that's likely. but yeah, so he's still a young guy on the rise. He's got to continue to develop his shooting skills and free throw shooting and playmaking. All those things have to get better, and probably ability to handle contact even better. But he made a lot of progress in the last couple of years, really.
Yeah, he has. And what do you think a realistic timeline is for him? I get you're always going to want your game to evolve and improve as each season goes along, but we're coming into De'Aaron's 8th year. Do you think, by year 10, we're going to know who De'Aaron is, or do you think this is going to be a longer timeline?
Well, I think we know now. I mean, but I think now improvements are, by degrees. Or usually guys about their fifth year of the league. They are who they are. Now, doesn't mean they won't get better, but it's incrementally. In other words, a little better 3-point shooter, a little better defender, a little of this, little of that, and you see guys by the time they're in their 10th year, well, they may be more overall skilled, and they may have lost some athleticism. Where they're not quite as explosive as they were. So, and that will be the challenge for De'Aaron. He's so explosive athletically. Well, at some point, he's going to lose some of that. Here again, not my rules. There's, it's the way it is. So you get, basically as he gets, maybe loses a little quickness and speed, gets to be a better shooter, gets a little more physical. Is going to make all of it, be able to create free throws a little more often, things like that, and that generally happens.
Sure, if you're De'Aaron this offseason, what's the one thing that you're hammering in and you're working on in your game? What do you want to see different coming into this season?
Well, I would like to see him become a little more of a playmaker. He can make plays, but I don't know that he's a playmaker. He'll make, I think, just be a little more creative with his playmaking because he creates so many problems and draws a lot of defenders to him. And I felt this year he didn't really take advantage of that nearly enough. I always thought, quite honestly, in the pick and roll, Monk was clearly better.
Yeah.
And I think with Fox, he's got to me, he should be better. Just on that one area because he creates more problems, but he really isn't as good at finding guys. I mean, certainly, Monk always got Domas a couple baskets a game, and Alex Len a basket a game.
Yeah,
and I mean you could almost just count on that. So that's an area I think would be easy for him. Just be a matter of, and part of it would be the coaches, focus on that and let him know, this is what you should be looking for in these situations. And we want you in these situations a little less ISO, a little more taking advantage of screens.
I love it. There's no reason why that pick and roll can't be in his game. He had a pass, Jerry, this season. I think it was in the Phoenix loss where it looked like he got caught in the air under the hoop, and he was darn near all the way extended, and he shoots a laser to Keegan Murray from under the hoop around traffic. And
Yeah,
I'm just like,
yeah, yeah.
how did that ball get there? Like,
No, he's the potential is there. I mean, I think, he's smart. Yeah, he's not a selfish player at all.
No.
I would never say that about De'Aaron. So it's a matter of just kind of maybe, being aware of what to look for. I think sometimes it's not that complicated, but, on a pick and roll or a play set of any kind, okay. Even an ISO is okay. I'm going to try to beat my man. If I'm doubled, I got to know where the double's coming from, and find, which means somebody's open.
Yep. Usually it means somebody's open. Let's hope so.
Yeah, unless they got an extra guy out there.
Yeah, exactly. Jerry joining us for just a couple more moments. We'll get you out of here on this, and thank you so much for joining us again this Tuesday. What are your predictions for the Mavs and the Thunder kicking off tonight? Who are you taking?
I'm taking the Thunder. I know more and more people feel like the Mavs can beat them, and I wouldn't say they can't. I mean, I think it'll be a 7-game series too. I think Dallas is a better defensive team, and if both, with Mavs, it's pretty clear if Doncic and Irving are both playing an A game, they can beat anybody because you can't guard them. But it's also true sometimes they miss shots and have bad games. And but I like at least in the first game, I like Oklahoma City. I, like a lot of people, I thought the Pelicans would play the heck out of them.
Yeah.
And the Thunder just slapped them around like yard dogs, so at some point they're the first, number 1 seed. So you got to give them their due. It will be interesting to see because with all the power that Minnesota has shown, because right now I just don't see anybody beating Minnesota.
Jerry, I'm with you. I said it on my recorded podcast earlier today. If this continues, they're the champions because they're doing it. They're leading the playoffs in points per game, and their defense is suffocated. It's incredible.
And they've got a really good bench, so it's all there, and I mean, not only the West, but this I like them better than the Celtics right now. Now, the difference Celtics is they're such a 3-point shooting team, and you can't really guard all those 3-point shooters. So that's where they're unique, I think. But anyway, it'll be great. I'm looking forward to the Dallas OKC game a lot. I mean, because I just not sure how it's going to go, but I'm with you. The defense improvement of the Mavs is amazing because now a lot of it happened, I think, when they got 2 guys at the break, Gafford and PJ Washington. Just give them 2 more legitimate starter type players that he didn't have. And of course, one of my favorites, by the way, is he'd be a free agent. It would be Derek Jones Jr.
Yes.
Best. Keep in mind.
I would like that too. I just wonder how these guys turn up, right? They just find their way to these positions with the right teams where they play the perfect roles, and he is a great example of that.
Exactly. Well, so much of it is being the right place, the right time with the right team. I've always said, I mean, Steve Kerr's the ultimate example of that. I always remember when Kerr came to the league, and I remember a guy named John Sunvold, All-American out of Missouri, 6'2" shooter, was probably better than Kerr. But he got stuck on the Miami Heat when they were an expansion team. And, it just the way it works sometimes.
Yeah.
And no disrespect to Kerr, because he became a terrific role player with great teams.
Yeah, he did. You know what, Jerry? He was always ready for the moment. It wasn't too big for him.
Yeah, and I mean, and I mean that, but I mean, you like guys like Derek Jones. Well, he's bounced around. He's bounced around the league, and he's found, as you pointed out, the right spot where they don't need him to be a big offensive guy, score a little bit, guard people, and
Yes.
and stay out of the way of Irving and Doncic. That's really what he has to do.
It's kind of the Keon Ellis formula, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's a bigger version.
Yeah.
He's a 6'6", 6'7" version, which that version, I hate to say it. I'm glad I'm not working for King because I can say it, is I'd like to see him in a King's uniform. That's all.
Amen. Amen to that. Jerry, thank you so much for joining us here on the King's Court.
Well, glad I
today.
could, and keep up the good work, Ryan. Talk to
Appreciate
you
it.
later.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks, Jerry. That is Jerry Reynolds. Just the best. He's the best. Name me a better person to have a conversation with about basketball. Go. I dare you to find one. Jerry, his insights are just so good. The little things about basketball that we think about but we don't expand on. Jerry is always there, spot on. Let's catch up with the chat. Jerry gave us a lot to talk about. LeBron needs a bigger three. Yes, put that up a second ago. Jerry is a legend indeed. What up, Daniel? I got to come by the shop. Daniel from Pops. Let's see. Haunted Horse. What's up, dude? How you doing, Haunted Horse? Do I have a sound drop for you, Haunted Horse? Yeah, I got one for you. There you go. Haunted Horse. I don't know why I chose that one. I just did. Adam, Jerry, we need to get you a desk like Don Corleone, right? Big. Well, have you seen? I didn't notice if he had it right now, but the Jerry Reynolds cutout, the cardboard cutout behind him in his office. I love that. That was not a blocking foul. Not sure which one you're talking about. Jackie, Kings suck. Well, they're not in the playoffs right now, so I guess. Nice pick. Let's see. Jackie hopping back in. Uh-oh. Look at Jackie is not happy. You know what Jackie says about the Kings roster? Garbage. She does not like it. She's saying, turn it over. Yeah, I don't know about that. Why are all the Kings players, including Keon, so weak and afraid? Oh, we've got a troll. Jackie, are you a troll? I don't want to have to do this. Jackie, I do have the ability to run you. We do have rules here on the King's Court about trolls. I'm going to let it slide because I don't think you're a troll. I think you're a discouraged Kings fan. But why are all the Kings players, including Keegan, so weak and afraid? Did you see Keegan Murray's body style change in between his rookie year and this year? You Intangibles has to be a championship level team. All right, not sure what that means. James hopping back in. Ryan, would you take Jamal Murray or Fox? Let me think about that for a second. Jerry Legend, yes, indeed. Bane, James, Ryan, would you take Fox over him? Oh, he doubled up. Oh, hey, brother. You don't have to. I'll get to it, James. You don't have to double up, but that's all right. I would probably take Fox. Let's see. DSC, the Pelicans are vacationing by the muddy brown waters at Galveston, Texas. Makes me mad they had our number. That was a pretty good little bit by Chuck, right? That was a really good bit by Chuck. So Jerry Reynolds with a lot to let us think about. There's some that we could expand on. I do want to talk about the Jimmy Butler and Pat Riley situation because Jimmy Butler certainly is a piece that could slide in to this Kings unit. I think that it would be an upgrade for this Kings unit. The question becomes, what would you have to give up for him, and would Vivek be willing to pay a little bit extra? Let's see. Hold on. Who would decline this trade? Ant for Wemby. Well, the thing is, Wemby, I get that Ant on the court, absolutely. You would do that in a second if you were San Antonio. I would trade Wemby for Ant on the court, but off the court is where it gets a little bit dicey because think about the money machine that is Wemby. Think about the international spotlight on him. I mean, the international fans, when they get involved in the NBA because there's a player that's, getting run, somebody that's getting attention. And yeah, it's not a realistic trade, obviously. But yeah, that's like the whole LeBron situation. That's the whole Otani situation, right? It's like, my gosh, you're going to pay him $700 million. Well, do you know how much money they make off of his likeness? You know how much money comes in from that? They've probably made 700 million in jersey uniform sales. You get my point already. And I'm probably exaggerating to a T. But Wemby is the same thing. But either way, if you have either of those players, you're going to be just good to go. 380 of you joining us here on the Kings Court Live. Jerry Reynolds was with us just a few minutes ago. If you missed any of that, you can go back and catch the podcast. I'll upload this to the Kings Court. And then also every morning, you get the morning shoot around where you get some exclusive thoughts from me. Get the table set for our 2 o'clock show Monday through Friday here on If You Don't Like That. All right, let's talk Miami Heat. Let's talk Jimmy Butler. I get this story is a couple of more than a few days old, but Pat Riley in their exit interviews had some words about Jimmy Butler because Jimmy also had some words as well. And there's been reports about some friction between the two's relationship. And with Miami's exit from the playoffs a little bit sooner than they'd hoped, even though, last year play in to NBA finals, not too bad. There's always high expectations when you're a Pat Riley team. So this reported friction that might be there between the two, the question became, and I'm going to play the audio for you right now with Pat Riley. This was Pat during his exit interview while talking about a few things and Jimmy Butler.
Healthy that Boston would have gone home. I know it's tough to live in hypotheticals, but if he was able to play and Terry was able to play, did you feel like the gulf has gotten way too big with you in Boston, or if you had your guys, that it might have been more competitive?
We played, I've been involved in competition and playoffs against certain opponents that turned into hate, even since we've been here, I hate to use that word, but the competition gets so tough that you don't like one another. And so we played Boston 4 times, I think, in the playoffs since Jimmy's been here. So, you do develop some dislike for the other team, but they are this year, I think, the best team in the league, the best roster in the league. They made some great moves. Brad Stevens did a great job in getting Holiday and Porzingis. They built their bench a little bit differently. And, for him to say that, I thought, is that Jimmy trolling or is that Jimmy serious? If you're not on the court playing against Boston or on the court playing against the New York Knicks, you should keep your mouth shut.
Oh, the shut up and dribble kind of comment there. Now, I get what he was trying to get across. I'm being a little dramatic there and playing, but for that to come out during a press conference like this, that means tension's been building for a little bit. And are we going there? And I saw you said hi, Patrick. Welcome in, buddy. I hope you're doing well. Hope it is a good day, a Knicks victory day, my friend. Pat the Rat. I've got the Jim Rome ties, so I'm not opening up the Rat family Pandora's box, but I'm also not disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. Mark Few, too. Anyways, getting back to it. Fracturing some animosity there between Riley and Butler. Has Jimmy Butler's time in Miami come to an end? Well, you look at Jimmy's contract, okay? Jimmy's got a lot of money on the books still, unfortunately, and I am not quite sure if that's a swing the Kings would be interested in taking. This year he made $45 million. Next year projected to make $48.7 million. And then the final year of the contract, 25-26. So you do get 2 years of Jimmy Butler. His salary jumps up to $52 million and some change. So Jimmy Butler, not necessarily on the decline, but certainly on the downside of his career, but he's still Jimmy Butler. Isn't that a presence, a player that could possibly make a difference in Sacramento? And the only reason I'm bringing it up, I'm just opening the conversation. I'm not saying the Kings should go out and get Jimmy Butler. Is I've told you, in my opinion, the theme of this offseason is getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because the question is, where the hell can the Kings improve with the limited payroll that they have? The mid-level exception, they've got to knock it out of the park there. But as Bobby Marks said, they've got to knock it out of the park with that 13th draft pick. Now, that draft pick can be traded on the day of the draft. It cannot be traded before that, and that's according to Bobby Marks. But keep your eyes on the situation with Miami and Jimmy Butler, because he could possibly be on his way out. Also, you look at the big money contracts on that team. You've still got Bam under contract till 25, 26, and he's going to be making $37 million in the last year of his contract. So here's the problem, and certainly I'm sure somebody's put this in the chat already, what you would have to give up to get a player like Jimmy, just to make the salary work. It doesn't fit with what Miami might try to do, because you don't usually see Miami go into a full-blown rebuild. Almost never. They had to when the big three left there. But they're going to want to be competitive. So could a Harrison Barnes piece work there? Could a Kevin Huerter piece work there? I mean, are those players even desirable? I can tell you one player that I think would be very desirable to the Miami Heat. That's Davion Mitchell. I think he would fit in great in the Eastern Conference, and I think he would fit in great with that Miami Heat and Eric Spoelstra system that they run out there. But what's the status going to be of Jimmy Butler? Keep that on the front of, I don't want to say the front of your minds, but keep that in your mind as we continue to roll through there really is no offseason for the NBA. I laid this out, and by the way, 403 of you here on the King's Court Live. So happy to have you. You can call the King's Court if you'd like. I'm going to put the link right back there in the chat. You can also scan the QR code above my left shoulder. Would love to have you on. You don't have to be on camera, by the way. You can call without any video if you prefer it that way. I'd love to have you. We're talking Kings. We're talking NBA playoffs. We had Jerry Reynolds on. Anything that Jerry said, I mean, we had a really good conversation. I really enjoyed that. I can't wait to go back and listen to that a little bit more. Let's hop into a few more of your comments before we change directions. I love that these conflicts are occurring. I'm over the big three teams or anything like them. Give me a team like Minnesota or OKC or NYK, where they are organically rising to the top. DSC, that's what your Kings are trying to do. And I've said that since the start of last year, when the Kings really didn't make any mind-altering, earth-shifting moves in the offseason. But what the Kings did do this season was they achieved their offseason goals. A lot of people don't give them credit for that. They needed to protect the rim. They did. They did it at a higher clip this year. Turnovers were down, even though turnovers were a problem. And then rebounding improved as well. Those were the three big things, and the depth on the bench. Now, arguably, that was not as deep as we thought it would be. But the Kings are trying to get that Denver formula. That Minnesota, I'm not going to say Minnesota is kind of that formula, because they brought in Gobert and they had Towns. So the days of the big three, and we said it earlier on the Kings Court this week on Monday, it's over. That's the new CBA coming into effect at the start of the new operating league or operating year for the league. They are putting in stiffer rules for teams that are going to try to make that cheap championship run. And by cheap, I don't mean monetarily cheap. I mean cheap as in like we're going to buy a championship. So that's going to eliminate in some cases MLEs for teams, the penalties. You can lose draft picks if you're too far over. So the days of the super teams, at least during this CBA, are probably over. There's still a couple ways you could do it, but I'm with you, DSC. It makes for a much better story. Adam, OKC is pretty organic, but I hesitate to call NY or Minnesota organic. Yeah, I'm with you there. But OKC, 100%. And OKC, as good as they are right now, they're ahead of schedule. People expected them to be good, but with the war chest of picks that they have coming up, it's mind-blowing. So really, really cool time to be a basketball fan in the NBA. Hopping back last night really quick to the Timberwolves and the Nuggets. Let's talk about composure, something the Sacramento Kings were not good at times this season. De'Aaron Fox drew a few too many technical fouls for my liking. There was too much chirping with the officials. I think Malik Monk does it the best out of anybody on the Sacramento Kings. Well, that was on the Sacramento Kings roster last year. But it came up yesterday because Mike Malone getting frustrated with the referees. Let's go to inside the NBA. They're talking about Mike Malone, and also they're talking about the Nuggets just being completely flustered by the Timberwolves.
Don't lie. They are incredible defensively. You talk about what even when Rudy's not there, but on the perimeter, they're guarding everything, led by Ant-Man. Their best player is playing great defense, and the rest of those perimeter players, even without Rudy, man, this is one of the best defensive teams I've ever seen.
Ever in your life?
And let me tell you why. Because in our day, they had a couple little guys out there. They don't have any little guys out there but Mike Conley. He's the only little guy out there. All their wing players are like 6'7", 6.
Jaden McDaniels, Nikhil Alexander,
they're
Walker, these guys, man.
in our day, we would put a couple little guys. They don't have Mike Conley is the only little guy they got out there.
Let's hit the American Express teammates, and we'll get to a couple of breakdowns from the first half. And offensively.
And here is Michael Malone, really quick. They're hitting on that.
Say, this might work next game.
But I understand why Coach Malone was mad. Karl-Anthony Towns just ran over somebody.
No, he didn't.
That was a foul in all 50
states.
states. No, you can't just run over somebody.
Yeah, you can.
If we get a chance to pick that play up, that's a foul.
That was the play before
It
the
was
play.
before that. It was 100% a charge. It was awful.
Man,
just like them boneheads in the New York Knicks game earlier kept making bad calls.
Okay, so the table's set for some conflict in the second half, right? Nuggets are playing bad. Nuggets are frustrated, right? But the table was not set, in my opinion, for this.
Porter is right there. Twisted, nudging, firing. Picked up by Anderson. Back to Towns. They stuck with it. And they're letting them play at both ends here now, right? Now, while something's rolling on the court here, do you see the official over there, Mark Davis, turning to the fans here by the Nuggets bench?
That was a heat pack. That came from the bench. That was a heat pack for sure.
If you can dodge a heat pack, you can dodge a ball. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. What are we doing? Jamal Murray throwing a heat pack on the floor? I mean, that, to me, on a Michael Malone coach team, the Nuggets, are the Minnesota Timberwolves that far into the Nuggets' head? I mean, I get frustration. That's a whole new level of frustration. And quite frankly, it's the second incident in a week. And I get they're different incidents. Patrick Beverley chucking the ball at a fan, but now you've got Jamal Murray coming off of that, throwing a heat pad on the court. I hope that was a mistake. I hope that that was not intentional, but it seems pretty clear that that was the goal. And the referees, are the referees coming straight from the WWE? I'm just curious, because how do you miss a heat pack coming onto the court and you don't make the connection that it came from the bench? It's just like when that wrestler is knocked out cold and that dude somehow on the outside puts his foot on the ropes and the ref's like, oh, his foot's on the rope. What are we doing? Just another bad look for the NBA and another bad look for the refs, too. No technical foul was called on it. I get that these guys are doing the best they can, but sometimes can we please just use a little bit of common sense here? It doesn't take much to realize a towel and a heat pad, that a towel that's on every damn player or available to every damn player on the bench, it probably came from the bench, ref show. I mean, it's just getting ridiculous. John, it's okay if you're late. Happy that you're here. Hardy hit the thumbs up button. Thank you so much. DSC hopping back in. He threw that in a towel, didn't he? Yes, he did. Eddie Guerrero with the chair, right? Condog, right? I mean, what's next? What are the referees going to fall for next? I mean, it's like Hulk Hogan's right there on the edge of the court yelling at the referee. That didn't come from me. Brother. It didn't come from me. I mean, you literally have a situation like this, but the refs are hearing something like this.
Golf course looks good. My golf swing feel looks good. I like my chance.
Nothing made sense there, but we're just going to pick up the heat pad and go on with our day. No, refs, yeah. Totally trashed that call, refs. Bad job by y'all. And bad job by Jamal Murray. Come on, Jamal Murray. Does he get a suspension for that? Is that in the cards? I think it's going to be a hefty fine, but I got to think, coming onto the court, throwing a heat pad and a towel, is that as bad as coming off the bench and onto the court as well while play's going on? I don't know. Maybe it's somewhere in the middle, but the fact that we're talking about heat pads being thrown, I mean, who throws a heat pad? Who does that? A shoe? Who throws a shoe? Yeah, good movie, by the way. But yeah, so really confusing there. Here's what I know. You're going to know really quick in game 3 if Michael Malone has this team tuned in, or if this may be the end for the Denver Nuggets. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. I think this is a series that probably is going to go, I think it's going to go 6. You might even get 7. Let's see what Minnesota does on their home court. And how about we'll finish up here, Oklahoma City and Dallas tonight. I'm going to be really interested to see what the answer is going to be for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Jerry referenced some of the trades that the Mavericks made at the trade deadline and got much better, which really helped the perimeter and the interior. So are they going to be able to protect the rim? And here's the big question. Can the Mavericks play and guard SGA without fouling? That's really what it's going to come down to. Can they guard without fouling? SGA, one of the best in the NBA at getting to the free throw line. Certainly one of the many reasons his name is in the MVP race this season. Hey, thank you all so much for being here on the King's Court. 433 of you live. I've still got a little bit of meat on the bone, but we will leave that for tomorrow's show. Let's see, Eddie Guerrero, we got that one. Imagine if Cat turned an ankle on that bad boy. Yeah, it would be a much bigger deal if that were the case. Ron Artest, Malice at the Palace, 2024 edition. Condog, I think we're going a little too far there. But no, I mean, The closest thing that I saw to the malice was, if you're referring to Patrick Beverly, yes, that was not good. Maybe one of the worst things that I've seen by a basketball player in the NBA since the malice. But as I was saying, we're going to be back right here live tonight after the Oklahoma City Dallas game. Grant will be here on If You Don't Like That, an open forum show. We'll be taking your questions, talking about the game. I'm sure many of these topics will come up. I bet we'll hit some of those tiers and rankings that Grant talked about last night with some of you that tuned into that show. But we are here every single day, Monday through Friday, live on If You Don't Like That with the King's Court. As I said again, please make sure you're following If You Don't Like That on YouTube. There's some funny exclusive rants on there that you've probably never heard from Grant. He's put up some good shorts. In fact, there's one where his pet turtle, he's trying to get the turtle to eat dinner that night, and he is calling the turtle walking to the food. He's doing the play-by-play of the slow walk of the turtle. It's priceless. You got to go check that out. But hey, thank you so much for being here on the King's Court. Tadora, hit it.
Holy moly, Jim Bowley.
Make it a great day. Go Kings. Light the beam. Court is dismissed.